The first story. For some context, I'm 17, just finishing high school. I'm not very popular and have a very small group of outcast friends. Everyone in it is pretty geeky and nerdy. We meet at the grave. I know it sounds quite strange, but it is quite cold and soothing. Usually no one is there, but occasionally families or someone grieving the loss of a loved one will come. It all started last Monday when I went to a cemetery to relax by myself and listen to music. I grabbed my headphones and walked out. I didn't pay attention on the way there, but when I got to the intersection, I realized how quiet it was. There seemed to be no one outside, no cars on the road, no birds in the trees, not even the sounds of children playing in the nearby playground. I also noticed how foggy it was. Thick fog surrounded everything. I couldn't see 100 feet ahead of me. I dismissed it as the bad weather that caused the seemingly sluggish mood. When I arrived at the cemetery, I expected to see someone there in mourning, but again, there was not a single person there. There were a few benches around, so I went to my usual spot and sat down, which was near the entrance, turned on some music, and started drawing in my journal. After an hour, I decided it was time to go home. I gathered my things and got ready. I stood up and looked around. Just out of my field of vision was a figure. I couldn't make him out through all the fog, so I crept up to her. I thought I was a weirdo sneaking up on some random person, but when I got up there, I noticed her features. She looked like an ordinary woman. I couldn't tell her height from the fog, but she had black hair. Her skin looked pale, almost a very light whitish gray, and she was wearing a white dress and a white hat that women wore in the past. She just stood, not looking at anything, facing the grave. I looked at the entrance. She couldn't have entered without me noticing. I looked back, and she was gone. It scared me, so I just left. I returned home and continued my normal routine. I went to bed around 11 p.m. I woke up to a knock on the window. It was still dark outside, so I couldn't see much. I was a little worried, but thought it was just bugs hitting the window. I wanted to check, so I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. I looked at the window and nothing. The knocking stopped and I saw nothing in the window. The next morning, I thought that the woman must have just slipped into the cemetery without being noticed, but I still couldn't figure out how she got out. Despite what happened yesterday, I came back again to calm down. Today was much sunnier and the weather was quite nice. I came there, and when I entered, I saw her. This time, she was 40 feet from the entrance, just staring like she was waiting for me. All I could do was stare back, paralyzed with fear. Her skin was very wrinkled and looked rotten. A putrid smell emanated from her. Her face was rotten too. She was looking at me with a wide, amazing smile, and her nose was sharp and long. I noticed how tall she was. She towered over me, must have been at least 7'1" 2 feet tall. She was looking at me with the most piercing and evil look I had ever seen. I quickly turned and ran home, locking the door behind me in fear that she would follow me. My mom was at work, so I couldn't tell her what happened. I went up to my bedroom and scrolled through Reddit to distract myself from what had happened. I heard what sounded like footsteps on the pebbles that covered the garden. I looked out and saw a woman in the garden by my window. I quickly ducked and ran to my closet. Luckily, I locked the front door. I quickly started dialing 911, but got no answer from the dispatcher. But when the thought of locking the front door crossed my mind, I realized I hadn't locked the back door. My heart sank, with tears streaming down my face. I'm writing this in my closet, and I hear footsteps coming closer and closer to my room. The second story. My mother had many amazing ideas about the world. But the one I remember most was her belief that our dreams take place in alternate universes. She thought we were transported to different universes to fulfill our dreams and return to our physical bodies upon awakening. On its own, this sounds like a cool, or maybe even silly, idea. But combined with the fact that my mother has grown to fear dreams over time, it becomes ominous. When we were children, my mother would tell us to be careful next time when we told her about the events of our dreams. I remember my sister Anna once telling her about a dream in which she piloted a spaceship through a glow in the dark galaxy, to which my mother replied, "If you ever have that dream again, you must never break out of this ship." She then made Anna swear that she would never leave the spaceship in her sleep. It was only a silly promise then, which I laughed at, and to which Anna agreed, although she looked excited, but she did not want to swear with our mother. As we grew older and became less afraid of her theories, she began to explain to us more rules that we should follow during our dreams. She told us never to talk to people in our sleep unless we can see their faces. She said that no matter what they look like, how we feel, or what they tell us, we should never talk to them or answer their question. When she told us this, Anna and I looked at each other, raising our eyebrows to let it be known that we both thought she was over-dramatizing everything. But we promised her that we would never talk to faceless people in our sleep. She then corrected us and said it wasn't just faceless people, but anyone whose face we can't see. And we corrected our promise, and she seemed pleased. A few months after this conversation, I had a dream. I don't remember many details of the dream. My mom would say it was our brain's way of protecting us. But I do remember seeing a tall man in a hat casting a dark shadow over his face, completely hiding it from me. I distinctly remember the first time I saw him against the crowd in my dream, and I remember becoming more and more aware of the fact that I was dreaming. I remember him coming closer and closer to me until he was finally a few feet away. He caught me in a moment of my dream where I was alone, and that's when he spoke to me. He simply said,
"I know where you're from."
I remember looking at him, and even though I was uncomfortable, I also felt like I knew him. I was about to ask him for an explanation when I remembered my mother's warning, so I walked away from him. He didn't try to stop me, and he didn't say anything else. I didn't tell my mom because she would be scared, and I didn't want to sit there and listen to all the rules I had to remember while I was dreaming. I have seen this man several times. Sometimes he appeared in strange dreams, and sometimes in nightmares. He often talked to me, and I always ignored it. I think as much as I'd like to sit here and say my mom was crazy, deep down I really believe everything she said. My mother died about 2 months ago, but she kept her beliefs about dreams all her life. On her deathbed, she made Anna and I recite all her dream rules and promised her one last time that we would follow them. Of course, we did it because she literally had to die, and because I think we believe her. In the weeks before she died, she became frightened, saying they were becoming more aware. She had said this before, over the years, because she had always believed that the people in the other realities we visited in our dreams were aware of the fact that we were only travelers there, and that we were vulnerable because our physical bodies were elsewhere. I never pressed her on the details of her beliefs, but I understood that the people in these other realities were unaware of the fact that we appeared in their reality only in their dreams. And if they suddenly found out, it could be dangerous for us. Although, again, I never asked her to explain the types of dangers we could potentially face. After her death, Anna and I cleaned her house for several days. She left it to us, but neither of us wanted to live in it since we were working in other cities nearby, so we decided to rent it out to another family member. While cleaning out my mother's office, I found a shelf full of journals she used to record her dreams. Each entry was dated, and it looked like she hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years. Some of the entries contained several paragraphs detailing everything that happened in her dreams, while others simply stated, "No dreams tonight" or "Dog's birthday, pool filled with pink magical liquid." I decided to leave them all because I felt guilty if I threw them away. As I put them in the box, I decided to take the last diary and flip through the last few days of her life. In these records, her handwriting was unlike any other. Her words were squeezed together with no spaces between some of them. She misspelled random words or used strange abbreviations as if she was in a hurry to write something down. But they all had something in common. Every entry in the last 3 weeks of her life ended with the same words, "They become aware." They watched. In each of her entries, she described how she noticed people in her dreams just looking at her. She claimed that this was proof that they were aware. In one of her records, she noted that she accidentally paid attention to an old woman who was looking at her in a dream and ran away from her for a while. According to her, when she woke up that day, it was well past noon, and she managed to sleep through 3 alarms. She wrote that she is afraid to sleep again and wants to find a way to stop these dreams. She never wrote down the ways she tried to stop the dreams, but they clearly didn't work because the next entry was more of the same. She claimed that there were more people who noticed her, and that every time she slept, more of them looked at her. She said she feared for her life and claimed she knew she was going to die soon, that she could no longer hide from them. She said there were too many, and it was too late to stop it. The doctor said that the mother died of natural causes. They claimed that she was just old. They said that she was in a constant state of stress, and that at her age it all became too much, and she died. But I'm not just saying this to talk about my mom. I'm writing this because I believe she was right. I believe that these other people, wherever they are, got to her. I say this because I am noticing it now, and so is my sister. For the past few nights, every time I have a dream, I notice more and more people in my dreams, but they don't participate in them. They are not background characters or people in the crowd. These are people I've never seen before, whom I don't recognize, and I can feel their eyes on me. I'm afraid that my mother found out something, and I don't think that it just affected her. I think it's spreading, and I think I'm in danger. You don't have to believe me, but I want to advise you to be vigilant. Next time you're sleeping, try to pay attention. Remember your last dream. Did you notice the looks?